Hi, Ann Cornick from Paintnporcelain. I'm here to teach beginners how to get started in China painting and hopefully recruit those of you who are experienced painters to paint along with us. Of course, is what we're going to be doing. This was the line drawing. Okay. And you would print that out, print out your line drawing, attach it to, this is called Sorel transfer paper, and it has a light side and a dark side. You put the dark side down on your piece, take a fine point colored pen and trace. Colored pen because then you can tell where you left off in case you have an issue. Trace this onto whatever. It doesn't have to be, it can be a tile. In fact, it probably look better on a tile because you could frame it. Or you can use a plate or a platter or what have you. Okay. When you take this off, and it will all be red because your paper, your transfer paper was red. You're going to need to make it black, and in order to do that, you're going to have to take and mix up paint. So let me put you down and we'll talk about the first step in the process, okay? Alrighty. I use pre-mixed paint. You can use powder paint as well. But the two types of oils that I use is AMP5. This is Easy Flow, and it's from Dallas, China. And this is my drying oil, and it's AGS21 drying pen oil, and that's also from Dallas, China. And it's dallaschina.com that you can purchase all this. So you take your basic, I'm going to take my black here, and I have pre-mixed. I think the pre-mixed is better. You know, if you've already mixed black paint for your project, then just use that. We mix our paints with, I mix mine with mineral oil, and it's about the consistency of toothpaste. Now, for this, you're going to start from the middle and work out. If you don't, you're going to have your hand in it when you try to go in the middle, and you're going to smear all your work. I'm using Easy Flow on this because once you do the middle, you really don't go back to touch it. So you're not going to need to have the drying oil. And the Easy Flow will stay open through the whole project. So if you mix up too much of the pen oil, it will stay open. You can save this pen oil, by the way, in a sealed container and use it several times. I've done it in the past. And it does keep fresh for a couple of days or so. Okay, you're going to make it soupy. You don't want it super soupy. If it's so soupy you can't stand it, that's a problem too. So you don't want it to be runny. And the way you know if it's just right is you scoop it up, and it should just slowly drip off the end. See how it did that? It dripped. It's going to drip again, I think. Yep, okay. That's perfect. You don't want it to run off the end of your knife. Then get it together. You're going to use a pen. I use a 102 nub. You can use any kind of nub you want. You just use the side of your pen to scoop up the paint like this. And there's a little hole on there. Can you see it? I think you can this time. You don't want to block that hole. You want to get plenty of paint on there. Don't block the hole. And then you're just going to draw and follow your lines. You want it about that thick. So see where I drew there? It's wet, so it's going to smear. So try to keep away from it. You don't want to be too close to it. And start from the middle, like I said, and work out. Then fire it once you get all this done. Sign your name too while you've got your pen out, and then fire it. So if you're a beginner, that's the first step that I've already done on this, because you don't need to stand here and watch me draw for a half an hour. That's silly. So this is good practice for you. You will use pens frequently, and you should know how to use them. If it's dragging, if it's not working right for you, it could be the nub, it could be your china's dirty, it could be you have that hole blocked. If you use it upside down, if you use it on the side of the pen, you will also have a problem. So make sure you use it just like you would a pencil. You want to hold it at a little bit of an angle and draw. Keep it on a flat surface. That sometimes helps. If you shake, my hands shake a little bit, you can go and move. And if you're moving a long distance, move your whole hand and it'll steady you. So instead of just doing this, you're going to move your whole hand. And that will steady you for doing this. Okay, some tips. Alrighty, we're going to get started. You're going to use the darkest colors this time. So the colors we're going to use are the beginner palette. Now, if you don't have these exact colors, looks like I got a little oil here. Let me just get that up because we don't want my paints to be oily. Okay, you're going to use a light blue and a dark blue. So I have here baby blue and Copenhagen. I have a light green and a dark green. I have moss and warm brown green. I have a dark brown. It can be any brown. I have a light and a dark red. Mine is Pompadour and Blood. If you have pink, I would use that in place of Pompadour, but you want a bright pink. You don't want one that's going to be like a shell pink. You want one that's going to be fairly bright. You want a light violet and a dark violet. I have violet and royal violet, and I have black. So any of those colors will work for you, and all you have to do is load your palette with them, and it doesn't have to be exactly the same colors that I've used. All right. Now, the key with painting the stained glass effect is not only starting with the darkest colors first, but it's also side loading your brush, tip loading your brush. You're only going to, if you're right-handed, you're going to load this tip, the tip that faces your thumb. So when you're holding your brush, see here, it's this tip that you're going to load. If you're left-handed, and I'm not left-handed, but you would load this tip, which is the tip that faces your thumb. You're only going to load the tip because you want these to look shaded. See how here it looks shaded? You go from a dark, can you see that? A darker color to a lighter color. Same thing here, same thing over here. Even though these are the darkest colors, you still want to have some change in the shade. Okay, now, when you get the study, if you purchase this study, you'll also get one of these, which will tell you what colors to use. And on the advanced version, I use, like, on this one, these colors are a little bit different. This down here is an old gold green. And I have a black green. And beginners may not have that. I have a turquoise, or you can use that Russian green. So you want to make sure that if you're using the advanced version, that you have the advanced, it's like a paint by number almost up in front of you. And each one of these will tell you what color to make it. Alrighty, and that'll give you something to go by, and that'll be on the study. So we're going to start. We're going to start with the middle of the bird and work out just like we did with the other. I'm going to use my regular painting medium, and I'm going to load the purple. Can you see how I'm loading the purple? Let me show you. You're going to load the purple like this, just one side, so that when you paint, only one side has the color. Okay, that's what you want. Any color that you load, you're going to load that way. So I'm going to start with his little head, and I'm just going to pull the color across. You want it to be smooth, so you may have to, oh, I don't want to be in the way, you may have to smooth it like this. I'm going to do all the areas on the bird that require purple. So down here, I have purple down here, and I'm going to come up. Let me just get a little more here. Okay, and I'm only doing the side load, and then I'm going to feather it. You're also going to want to make sure that if there's any overage, like there is here, you take and put your mineral spirits on your brush. Mine's not quite clean enough. Let me clean it better. I'll bring this closer to me. And you go through and remove that excess color. You don't want that excess color there. You may have to wipe it off with a Q-tip. You may have to wipe it off with, actually a Q-tip is a really good idea. It doesn't get into other things, and I always keep Q-tips close by, so. Okay, so those are the two purples. Let me just get them down here. Okay. Alrighty. And now we're going to use Pomp. Now, I want this to be a light pink eventually, so I am using Pomp because on my original beginners, I said pinks are expensive, let's use Pomp. And if you use it very lightly, you get a real pretty pink. And again, wipe off any overage. So you see I have a little overage here. I'm going to wipe that off. I'm going up here. You can use a smaller brush, but the wider the brush, the smoother the strokes. So if you can use a number 10 like I'm using, that would be preferred, but it's entirely up to you. So, okay. And then we're going to use a green, moss green, for the lower part of him here. It's a little thick, so I'm going to come through and soften it a little. You want it to have a soft, smooth look to it. I'm going to do back here. And I'm going to do back here. And I'm going to bring this across the top a little bit. You're trying to imitate different versions of stained glass. Okay. All right. Let me just get a little oil on. Now, here I have a few little lines. So I'm going to keep my dry brush handy, and I'm just going to use the dry brush to help me feather that out. Okay. And then again, you're going to take and clean your brush really well and go around the edges. Make sure the black shows. See right here, I've kind of gone over the black. I want to make sure the black shows, so I'm going to clean the edges so that the black shows. Even here, between these two, and just touch it to clean the edges so the black shows. All right, now we're into the feathers. And the feathers on this one are going to be pompadour. So you're going to side load your pomp. And you're just going to go across and do the tops of these feathers right now, because the bottom is going to be lighter. So if you do the top, the next time you put a coat on, the top will be darker than the bottom, and that's what you want. You can also use blood if you think the blood red is a little bit darker, that's fine too. You're just going to do the top. And the same thing on this side. You're just going to do the top. Okay. I didn't get out very much of the lines there, so now we're going to go down to the next color. And the next color is going to be Copenhagen Blue. And on this one, you're going to do every other one. So this one, you're just going to do the end. Let me get close for you. Oop, came out of the lines a little. There we go. And the next one, you're going to do the full one. So you start at the top and then feather it all the way down to the bottom. You want it a solid color. You may have to clean your brush frequently as you do this. Here you're going to do just the bottom. So I can go through and do just the bottom on the ones that are just the bottom. This is the darker color. That's why we're using it. Make sure that the bottom ones are all done. I'll do the same on the other side. This one, and this one, okay? And then I'm gonna go through, side load again, and I'm gonna do the full color. Every other one. Oops, this one, and then this one. If they come out light on this version, that's fine. You may have to tweak it on a third fire. I'm hoping we only need 2 on this, and you may be happy with the outcome even after this. You may say, I don't want to put another color on. Okay, I'm cleaning my brush and I'm going through and removing any overage. Can you see right here? I have a little bit that went outside the lines. I want to make sure I get it. This is going to be the hardest part for you if you're a beginner, because your brush has to be super, 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 super dry in order to do it. Okay. I'm going to take, where's my fine brush? This is my funny number 4. I like the number 4. And you're going to make the eye a little black. And I'm using black now, and you're going to make this entire beak black. Now, it doesn't have to be black, black, black on this. You've got several more coats. Remember, you can put more colors on. So if it comes out a little gray, that's fine. The next time you can make it really dark. I'm using Best Black. It's not an easy color to find, so if you don't have Best Black, don't sweat it. Just use whatever black you have. Okay. And then on his tail feathers, we're going to do those in like a blood red. So take the blood red, side load it, and I'm going to just do, oops, I've got this in the way, so I have to see. These are full, so we're gonna, oops. These are very full, so we're gonna do the whole color down. And you may have to turn it upside down in order to pull some of the color up. These are the solid pieces. Now see, my brush is getting too big because it's getting up into the purple where I just did previously. And I'm wiping around the edges, so I'm going to switch now to a smaller brush. I have a number 4 square shader. I believe I got that also from Dallas or Maryland, China ages ago, so I'm not sure what the source was, but look at how much better that works. The quill brushes will be smoother for you in this process than the other brushes will be. So if you use, the quill brushes are the ones with the plastic on the bottom. The other brushes are the metal, have the metal like this. And I think that the plastic ones seem, for me, I don't know, you may not be the same way, to be smoother. I have to go back up here and correct this because I got my, there, okay. And then down here at the big tail feathers at the end, we're just going to put the Copenhagen on the ends for now. So I'm just doing the Copenhagen on the ends, putting the color in. You can do this fairly quickly. And you're going to pull it up. And you may have to use a bigger brush to pull it up. I'm going to try it with my small brush. Can you see here? Just trying to give it a little oomph, little graduation in color. That's what we're going for. And also to smooth it out. I'm going to take my brush and go through, and where I have overages down here, I'm just going to fix them. Okay, that's my bird so far. Okay, it is not difficult to do. The hardest thing is picking the colors. Now, you could take the line drawing, take your colored pencils, and just color it in and try it that way. But now as we get up into the wisteria, you're going to see that there's some technique to doing the different tiles that are up in this area. For instance, let's take this one here. I'm going to use my deepest purple, my royal purple on it. And I'm just going to do the upper part. I may have to switch back to my bigger brush. I'm going to pull it down a little, smooth it out a little. Now, with this one, yeah, I'm going to have to use my bigger brush. This is just not smoothing out the way I would like it to. Let's do it one more time. We'll put this on like this. There, much better. Okay, that's the smooth version I've got. Now, I'm going to take my liner. You say, your liner? What are you doing with your liner? I'm going to take my liner. This is my liner. It's a 1. These are scarf brushes, SCHARF. They're really nice. You can still get them. I'm going to put my liner in the royal purple, and I'm making this a textured tile. So by that I mean I'm going in, I'm going to come real close so you can see, and I'm swirling the color in. If you've ever seen tiles, you know some are textured, some are not. This one's going to be textured. Okay. Another textured tile that I have is, let me see on my study here, my line drawing, is this one right here. Ultimately, this one that I'm working on next is going to have pink on it. But the swirl is in purple in order to give it some background color. So I'm just going to take, and this is my liner, and I'm just going to swirl. I'm going to come down a little, and that's my swirl. Next time I will put a pink over that, or a very light pompadour, and you will see a total different look on that tile. Some of these are two-tone, and that's what we're doing, is we're putting the first color on. Okay, another one that, let me see where it is. It's right here, is a purple one, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take a purple, and we're going to put it up here, just on the tippy top. And then I'm going to take the purple on my liner, and I'm going to swirl it. So there are the swirls, so you can see what they look like. Okay, now we're going to go do some of these other colors in the back. I'm going to start with the ones that are, let's start with the ones that are Copenhagen. And this one is Copenhagen, and I'm only doing the tops because this is going to be wisteria. That's what it ends up being. So there's the top of that. And we are, I think I want that Copenhagen a little darker. I'm going to use a bigger brush. Having the same problem again. Helps if I clean my brush. All right, and I'm going to go through and do all the Copenhagens in this section. So this is one. Okay, and this is another. You skip over and you come down here. This is another one. And this one's going to have a little bit of purple in it. A little swirly. Okay. And another Copenhagen is, let I have to look on my study. This is going to be a solid Copenhagen, so I just paint it in. No biggie. And then this one down here, I have two that have, this one is solid. Oops, I've got a hair coming out on my brush. This one is a solid one. So we're just going to get the Copenhagen really dark and paint it in. And this one has a little bit of Copenhagen up in here. And let's see where else we have Copenhagen. I think Cope. All right, oops, and this one right here is Copenhagen. Okay. Then I'm going to take my next color, which is Pompadour, and I'm going to start putting that on. And this is Pompadour up here. Oops. And this is Pompadour down, well, up here, this is a total Pompadour. Let me get this. Where is it? It's right up by this. Yep, that one. Now, if you think your Pompadour is too dark, you can make it lighter. This is going to be a Pompadour right here. A really pink Pompadour. The other thing is you can mix it with white if you really want it to be a light pink, pinky Pompadour. Okay, and we're going to do a little Pompadour right here. I want to make sure I got the right one. It's hard to hold it upside down and then look at what I've done and see what I've got here. Yeah, I think it's this one. I'm just following my color outline that I have up here. This one is also Pompadour up in there. And then we'll finish out doing the colors down in here. This is a blood, because this is going to be a darker one. This is a blood. Now, the colors that I'm using here are not the colors that you necessarily have to use, but the reason I'm using them is because these are the colors that I had for the beginners, and I want them to be able to do this with the colors that they had. This is going to be a Pompadour here, so I'm going to do this one lightly. And then we get into, and you finish these off. There's instructions that will tell you exactly how to finish them off. And then we get into the leaves over here. And for the leaves, we're going to be using the dark green, which is all the way around up here. And this is a solid. So you have solid, you have the solid colors. You have the ones that have the texture to them with the liner. And you also have the ones that are going to have two colors with them. And then you just have the plain ones that graduate from one level of color to another level of color. This is a solid up in here that I'm painting. It's the darker green around the leaves. And I'm smoothing it. I haven't finished all of these down here, but just to give you an idea, let me just, this one's going to be a darker violet. This one's a darker violet, and it's a solid. And then up in this area, we're going to do green, a lighter green, moss green, because we'll use a yellow over it next time on some of these. This one's just going to be light in the middle, So I'm doing the bottom two, and and I'm gonna bring the color down. Then we have one. Let me pull this over so we can see it completely. And then we have one that's just textured up here, because next time it's going to be a yellow over this. So I just put the dark on so I can bring the yellow over it the next time. And then we have the brown, and this is a branch. So this is a branch, this is a branch, this is a branch, this is a flower. These are all leaves up in here. And with the branches, I'm just doing the lower part, because that way when I put the brown over the whole thing next time, it'll have some degree of variation in it. This side I'm just doing straight. So, and then we're going to do more of this fancy work down here, because a lot of these leaves in the top section, because it's going to be a brighter section, are going to be, need a little more oil, are going to be textured and covered with, these are going to be covered with yellow. Can you see what I'm doing there? Let me move over a little here. I'm going to do it here. And you just drag it through, make it look swirly. And then I'm going to take some moss green, and I'm going to do the top of this one, and then the bottom of this one will be yellow. Let me get a little more moss green. You're only loading one side of your brush. Okay. And then this little guy up in here is green. And this guy, where is he? He's right here. He's a darker green. Oh. Okay. So this is where the leaves will be. So now see, on this one it's fired, and you can see I've already done this pretty much the same thing up in there, but I did it with different colors because I had different colors on my palette. And then this one out here is going to be a dark green. Most of the dark green is a solid green because it's in the background, and I think it provides the shadow. So you really have to paint it in and then smooth it. And I would smooth it right into this outer circle, and then that way you don't have to worry about the color too much. If you're like, this is going to be a brown, so if I get a little green in there, no biggie, because I'm going to go over it with a darker color. But if you get it into your pink or something, that's a problem. And I just did that right here, so I'm just going to go beep, 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 there. Okay. And then this one is a brown. So the secret with the colors, keep your colors light, keep it loaded only on one side, make it smooth as glass. That's what you want, smooth as glass. Okay, let me put all the browns in on here. This is brown down here. Oh. This is brown here. Really oily. Let me get some of that oil gone. If you paint too oily, especially if you're using the oil that I use, which is the the, what do I use? Medium plus, it will run in the kiln. So you really have to be careful. Okay? You don't want it to be too oily. Oh. So I would go through and pick up some of that oil, maybe with a Q-tip if you get too much oil in there. Alrighty, this is going to be brown down here. And we have a little brown here. And we have a little brown here. I'm just leaving a little white here and there if I can. Okay, I'm holding this up, and that's another reason why it's never the easiest. And then I'm going to go through, and I'm going to use the darker color will be here. And oh, here it's kind of funny. Here it's just, they're lines. And then it'll be covered with a lighter color. And then next to it, I have a solid green, moss green. So this would be your light green, whatever you're using for your light green. And if it's solid, you really have to work on making it solid. And then all these down here will be leaves, various kinds. So that, the main ones that are going to be green, this one's going to be a solid. This one's a solid. You just paint right across them if it's a solid. This one's a solid. And this one's a little bit at the top and a little bit at the bottom. Kind of like that. And I'm just going to pull across to keep it smooth. And then I'm going to get my liner, and this one is going to be one of those weird ones with all the texture in it. And this one down here is going to be a weird one with the texture in it. And this one's going to have some texture in it. And this one's going to have texture at the bottom of it. And you can wind it all the way through here as long as you keep it a little bit dark. So see, that's what I've done. I'll pull it away so you can see it a little better. We're going to go back and put in the darker green. There's a darker green here. Oops, that's not very dark. Let me get a different brush. When you're switching back and forth between colors like this, you really have to check your brush and make sure you don't have another color on it. I almost did the wrong thing there and I had color on it. Okay, I think I have now done all the leaves that there are in this. So then it's just a matter of going back and filling in the color. And there's a lot of color. There's even a little brown up in this area, which surprised me, but there's like a little brown up in here, just dabbed. Okay. So, I don't know, it's almost 11. I don't want to take a lot more time. What I will do is I will take and finish this so that it has the beginner colors. And then I will put the studies online. And if you want the study, it will have, let me show you. It will have the colors with the color code on them, and it will show you, I will take a picture of this when I'm done so that everything, well here, this is a better example. This is the picture painted, and then this is the areas that have the color on it. And if you just put in the textured areas where you just have to look at them to see where it has just the squiggles. So this is the beginning of the beginners one. The palette's real limited. You can use these colors, but in order to finish this, it took me about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours when I was doing it. When I did this one, it took me a good 2 hours to do it. I hope that you got something out of that, something new and something different to try. And pick up those brushes, keep painting, and I'll see you next time. I hope you enjoyed the program, and I hope you'll take a minute to subscribe so that other people can learn more about China painting and we can get the word out to more people. You also can look at the links below. My Paintnporcelain.com website has a lot of freebies and printables for new and experienced painters, as well as studies, supplies, and even some of my hand-painted china. So thank you again, and I'll see you next time.